This is the Cubs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Cubs postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. You find me on all social media platforms at Joe George Radio. The Cubs lose to the Pittsburgh Pirates 2-1. Another gross loss for the Cubs. Plenty of opportunities again to win the game. So we'll talk about all of today, what we saw from the Cubs lineup, from Cade Horton as well in this one. The near disasters we saw from the bullpen where they managed to really get out of it with a lot of major damage, but still not enough from your lineup in this one. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So this is where it feels like the Cubs are kind of going in circles right now, where the problems that they're facing over the last three series really are just continuing to be a trend, and they're not coming through. The lineup's not coming through. They're getting guys on base. They had lots of opportunities. We'll go through all of them here in a couple minutes. They had lots of opportunities to win this game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, look, I don't believe that this is the Cubs. I believe more in what we saw earlier this season. But this is frustrating baseball. There's no doubt about that. This is not getting guys home when you have ample opportunity to do so. You have a ton of guys getting on base. You're just not coming through in any situation. And it's not like there's one guy to blame. I know a lot of people want to look at things like Dansby Swanson and, even Justin Turner when he's out there. But this team, it's everybody. It's an everybody issue. And it's really over the last three series, it's been very feast or famine for this offense. If they're not hitting home runs, they're not really winning baseball games. And that's what's happening right now. And look, Wrigley's been brutal this year. There's no doubt about that. Wrigley has been tough for the Cubs. They're obviously scoring more easily on the road. The long ball is much easier. But Wrigley can't be the excuse for everything because, well, that's where you play. Like it's just the reality of the situation. We all know what it is, but it's the reality. And it doesn't stop you from getting singles and doubles and things like that. It stops you from hitting home runs. But that's all the Cubs really can do right now is hit home runs or do nothing. If you look at this game, really from the start of the third inning, they had opportunities to put this game away. The third inning, Reese McGuire, single, Ian Happ walks. You got first and second with one out. Here come Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki. They both fly out, and the inning is over. In the bottom of the fourth, Michael Busch is 2 feet away from a home run. So he hits a double there. So you got a runner on second with 2 outs. Nico Horner comes up. Inning over. Bottom of the fifth, Ian Happ walk. Kyle Tucker crushes a double. They sent Ian Happ home. He's out pretty easily. And look, I think it's time to maybe be a little less aggressive when you're playing like this because you got to get guys home. And Quinn Berry has done a good job until it feels like the last 2 weeks. Every critical moment that's happened this season for him feels like it's been in a very recent stretch of baseball. And Ian Happ is thrown out at home. Bad decision. Easy out. And again, Kyle Tucker is on second base and nothing gets done. So you have an opportunity, multiple opportunities there with Kyle Tucker hitting the double even after Ian Happ scores. And you don't just do it. So that's 3 straight innings where you've gotten chances against Paul Skeens. A lot of good at-bats versus Paul Skeens today. Not any damage, but a lot of good at-bats against Paul Skeens. Then you get to the bottom of the sixth. Seiya Suzuki, leadoff single, PCA, single, first and second with no outs. Dansby Swanson, double play. So again, a different person in the lineup. It's everybody. It's not one person. It's everybody so far. Tucker, Suzuki, Nico, Dansby. They're all coming up short in these moments. And then Michael Busch flies out with a runner on third base, and the inning is over. You get another leadoff hitter, leadoff single in the bottom of the seventh from Nico Horner. Do nothing with that one. Again, in the bottom of the eighth, Kyle Tucker, leadoff walk, Seiya Suzuki gets the single. So first and second, no outs. This is where the Cubs finally score. But it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. PCA hits into what should be a double play. The ball's bobbled. The second baseman panics, I think, because of PCA's speed. So you got first and third with one out. PCA steals second. So you got second and third with one out. And then Dansby Swanson grounds out. It's a 1-1 ball game there in the eighth inning. So again, could have had more than one, should have had more than one there in the eighth, and they don't get it done. The ninth, no real chance there for the Cubs. But of course, in the 10th, when you're down 2-1, you got a runner on second base and they do nothing with it. So, yeah, just bad day for the offense. I don't know how you don't win that game, to be honest. Like you had plenty of opportunities to get it done against Paul Skeens, and you chased him after 5 innings. And you did not come through in any way, shape, or form in this game. This should have been an easy win. I think that, to me, is the biggest takeaway now as we're seeing this recent stretch, these last 3 series. There's a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas for the Cubs. They could have beat Schoolville. They could have won that first game versus the Phillies. They could have won this game. I still think you're going to take 3 out of 4 in this series, and you need to. That's the expectation. Don't want to split this thing with the Pirates. But the Cardinals or the Brewers, one of them will gain ground on you today because they're playing each other and you lost. But a lot of opportunities for this offense throughout the entire game, starting in the third, and they all just are not coming through. And that, to me, is just, it's a huge problem. I think we all know it. Like, it doesn't need to be pointed out even. They're not playing good enough when runners are getting on base. They're getting guys there. Like, they're doing half the job. They're doing most of the job. The pitching's been good from your starters and your bullpen. Your hitters are getting on base. You're just not driving them in. So you're doing 3/4 of the job, honestly, in a lot of these baseball games. And they're just not getting it done. I'm not one. A lot of comments here live on YouTube. A lot of comments about Dansby Swanson and this team bunting. I think the people are referencing, obviously, that double play that Dansby hits into. Look, I'm not a proponent of the bunt very often. I wouldn't hate to see the Cubs occasionally try to do it when you're reeling like this. Again, like you're reeling. That's all it is. You got to get out of this funk that the offense is in just terms of not being able to get runs scored without hitting the home run. And again, I think they will. I'm not massively concerned or anything like that. I think they will get this thing back going. But right now, they are just not driving in runs. And it's everybody. It's Tucker. It's Suzuki. It's PCA. It's Nico. It's Dansby. A lot of Dansby. It's Michael Busch. It's everybody when you're not hitting home runs in this way. Also, a lot of questions here about the lineup. Not just in the chat, because I see him. Larry here says in the chat, it's criminal to have Swanson batting 5th. But obviously on social media, it's all over the place as well. Look, I don't disagree. Dansby Swanson was excellent when he was batting 8th in the lineup. It took the pressure off of him working. Now, part of the reason you could do that, and the Cubs don't have anymore, is the excellent hitting from the catcher position. That is gone. Between Carson Kelly, obviously Miguel Amaya is hurt, and Reese McGuire's had some good moments. But, moving one of those guys up in the order for, a reeling Dansby Swanson in the way that he is again at this point in the season is probably a tough call. Frankly, Nico and Swanson. I would move Nico Hoerner up to the 5th spot in the lineup. If you're not going to move the top of the order, because they're clearly not going to, all of Craig Counsell's changes have been from 5 to 9. Once Pete Crow-Armstrong elevated himself into a good position. So I would flip Nico because even though he didn't come through today, we know he's been excellent this year with runners in scoring position. Where Dansby has not been. He has not been great this year, even when, except for that, stretch where he was really hot, those like 3 weeks. Nico has been much better with runners in scoring position. Yeah, so I would like to see Nico moved up. That way it's not back-to-back lefty with Busch and PCA, but I would go PCA, Nico, and then I would go Busch, and I would just change things up a little bit. I'm not opposed to changing the top of the lineup either. It's just Craig Counsell is showing he just doesn't want to do that. So I'm not going to ask for something that is also totally unrealistic, in my opinion, because if he hasn't done it yet, I would be shocked to see him do it at any point. But yeah, if at some point you want to move things around, I think most Cubs fans would be open to that idea, would feel very positive about it. But yeah, I would move Dansby down at this point again, mainly because I want to see if he can at least get back down to, what he was doing. If hitting the 8th spot with less pressure on him is really what got him going before you moved him back up in the lineup. Like, why not just, keeping it, rolling or try it again at this point in the season. All right, we will talk about what we saw from Cade Horton, what we saw from the bullpen in this game. Small concerns about Keller, not major concerns at all, but we'll talk about what we saw from Cade Horton and the rest of the pitchers in today's game. We'll get to the next here on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Today's show is brought to you by Trade Coffee. Let's be real. Coffee isn't just a drink. It's a ritual, a lifeline, the thing that gets you from half asleep to fully functioning. And if that's essential, why settle for anything less than amazing? That's where Trade Coffee comes in. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got a roast you'll absolutely love. They got a quiz that you can take online to find out exactly what kind of coffee is best fit for you. You can do that on their website. So right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial. drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. And with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I'm looking at the over in this next game of the NBA Finals. I think it's 222.5 is what I saw it at last, so I'll be taking the over in that one between the Pacers and the Thunder. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, questions and comments, very welcome here live on YouTube. If you've got them, you can drop them in the comments section. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible. A lot of stuff about how this looks like last May and June. Yeah, I get that vibe too. I do think that this team collectively is just much better than that. So I understand why people feel that way. I don't, because Kyle Tucker will get this thing really rolling again at some point. I think there is some, he hasn't looked his best since he jammed his finger. There's no doubt about that one. He has moments, like the hit he had tonight that should have scored Ian Happ. But Kyle Tucker will get this thing growing. You have PCA. That right there. And then I think what you've seen from Michael Bush offensively, specifically against righties this year, those three guys alone give me the confidence to where this is nothing like last year, in my opinion, to where I think it will really get going again. But you are still seeing those struggles. They show the graphic coming into this game, the Cubs hitting below 200 against aces. Obviously, that might have gone up a little bit with Paul Skeens, even though they didn't get against him. But they're struggling against the best pitchers, and they're just not driving guys in. Again, that's really the problem for this team. So the good stuff from this game that we'll talk about, and O'Reilly, we'll get to your question here in the chat. Cade Horton was good in this game. 5 2/3, gives up 3 hits, only 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Really going pitch for pitch with what we saw from Paul Skeens in this game. So very positive, encouraging outing again from Cade Horton. I do think that even as Shota returns, I don't think Cade Horton is going to be the casualty at this point in the season from who's up there. You started his clock, you started his service time, so it doesn't make sense to send him back down. No, and he's just frankly been much better than Ben Brown. So I think Cade will continue to be the guy up there for the Cubs, at least until you get other guys healthy or, maybe you acquire someone at the deadline. But Cade, again, I think has been, kind of the strikeouts are not, I think, what we all expected. But for the most part, he's been as advertised as a prospect. He's come up here. He's pitched really well for the most part. Pretty much every single start, he goes out there and gives you a really solid performance. That's what Cade Horton does pretty much every time that he gets. So I think once Shota comes back, I think it's Ben Brown is the one that is most likely just getting demoted to try to figure out what's going on with him, with his command, with starting the games, too pumped up, as he says himself, and really get that third pitch going. But again, very positive stuff from Cade Horton. Now, one negative from the pitching, and it obviously didn't end up doing anything major for the Cubs in this game, but something I do think after the last 2 days, we need to keep an eye on. Now, and the reason why it's nothing, to panic about or anything like that, but, Brad Keller hadn't given up a run since April 30th. So he's obviously been excellent, but over his last 2 appearances, last night and today, really struggled with finding his command. So that's something to keep an eye on. His next appearance obviously will not be tomorrow. Expect Palencia and Keller to be down for tomorrow's game against the Pirates. Don't think we'll see those guys 3 days in a row, especially when you have so few days off coming up for the Cubs. But, so Keller not having much command right now is it's something to just keep an eye on. It's not the end of the world. But just for me, it's something that I think we need to watch because it's been a struggle for him. He obviously got out of his inning without major damage, but was not great there, obviously, as well. And then, the way the 10th inning played out was just kind of unfortunate. It's not, because your offense left so many opportunities on the table, it's hard to say that, like, that's what, cost you the game because it's the offense that cost you the game. But the 10th inning was obviously tough. Like a lot of, you get the soft grounder to Matt Shaw, which you can't make a play on. You get a walk. You get a bunch of just weird stuff happening in that inning. So the fact that it was honestly only a 1-run deficit and the Cubs had a chance to win in the bottom of the 10th kind of feels like a miracle in itself. Didn't really feel like they should have had that opportunity with the way the 10th inning was unraveling for them. So that's a positive in itself. Like, Pomeranz being able to get out of that thing without major damage is a good sign. But so overall, like a good day for the pitching. You gave up 2 runs. Like your offense just didn't do anything to do. A lot of questions in here. Started with a comment here from O'Reilly in the chat about the Brewers being a threat. And then, kind of people going back and forth if the Cardinals are the Brewers are the bigger threat. If there is one, I'm going to bet on the Brewers to be the bigger threat, honestly, than the Cardinals. I'm not a believer in what the St. Louis Cardinals are doing this year. So if someone is going to make this thing a race again, as the Cubs currently sit at 5 games, I believe it is, above in the division as of right now, as we are live, 5 games ahead of the Brewers. And obviously that could change to 4.5 games by the end of the night. But I think the Brewers are the one that I would keep an eye on more so than the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm not a believer in what they're doing at this point in the season. So that will do it for this episode of the Locked on Cubs Postcast. Obviously a frustrating loss where this team kind of feels like it's going in circles and the offense getting guys on and just not coming through in the way they need to. We will be back tomorrow for another live edition of this show as soon as the game 3 of this series between the Cubs and the Pirates wrap up. So come on, hang out with us tomorrow as well. We will talk to you then. Thank you for watching. Hopefully the Cubs get back in the W column tomorrow. Peace.